All right, well, I'm live at the Red House with an old friend of mine, Mr. Michael Belt. Thank you for coming over today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So we we go way back to like fourth grade.
Fourth grade.
If apparently we both remember our first conception of being musicians.
That's right.
Was kind of this band that you and I imagined in fourth grade, Six Stitches.
Six Stitches. Tyler Nail on drums.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was guitar. That would leave old Tim on bass.
Old Tim on bass, yeah. I used to draw pictures of it, and that was always the breakdown. And I had my little bowl haircut.
Big glasses.
Big glasses, yeah. We didn't get around to bringing that band to fruition, but we have both landed in music one way or another.
Yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
Here we are.
All this time later.
Yeah.
All right, so you are pretty much the songwriter and the person behind a band called Fox Season.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a bit about Fox Season.
Fox Season, it's a newly branded band. We've been going under the name Fox Season for 2-3 months now. It started as a solo project, just old songs, and they're still just old songs of mine that we're working with now. Under the name Michael Belt and everyone else's. I've worked with quite a few musicians ever since I started writing, but just recently landed a couple guys that just really seemed to want to be a part of the project. So it seemed only fitting to kind of take the spotlight off of me a little bit and make it more of a collective. So that's where we are as far as just the name goes. The kind of music that we're doing is it started out just a coffee shop singer-songwriter type stuff, but now we're getting a little more aggressive with it, a little louder. I like to yell.
Hell yeah!
So that's what that's what we're doing. It's hard not to once you get that drummer in there anyway, and you start playing an electric guitar. You start feeling that power. So right now we're just working on a new single. Should be released soon. We have a video kind of in the pipes too that from the EP I put out that'll be out shortly. I don't have any dates on anything, but other than that, we're just looking for bookings, trying to just get that live experience and spread the music around.
Yeah. We were talking a minute about sort of one of the things that came to mind when I want to talk to you was like, you've been doing music for a long time, not just recently, but you're somebody who's in the midst of kind of rebranding something in this landscape that we're in, which as far as I'm concerned is kind of the culmination of all the problems that people have been imagining were on the horizon for a while. Mm-hmm. And I've wondered what it's been like for you to be stepping into a place where you're kind of like almost starting fresh, like rebranding something that's kind of a new name, a new idea, and like a whole new thing. And you had mentioned it's sort of like the social media aspect of it, the marketing aspect is a grind that you have to kind of do. What's it been like to just kind of be starting from that place right now?
So all of this is very new to me because up until this point, I mean, it's just been me and a guitar, maybe playing some open mics, hosting a couple open mics. Mm-hmm. But I came into it with fairly high hopes as far as just having that social media network reach. And learned pretty quick that it's more difficult than it came off from the jump. It's a full-time job to get your name out there, even with the tools that we have. Getting past the algorithms and whatnot, it's tasking. I can't say I'm having a whole lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
I wish there was another way. In fact, we were talking about just trying to focus on getting some live shows so that we can kind of do the physical networking more so. I think that's more important to us right now. But up until I had the band together, it was really just me. All I had at the moment was to focus on social media and putting out art or projects or, whatever, just trying to get people's attention. Because I needed band members and representation, I don't know, just I'm learning something every day as far as just getting it out there. And I don't know, it's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard. Monotonous, is a little just frustrating.
Yeah, I think like some people talk about it that's like, oh, isn't it so fortunate now that you don't have to rely on all these other companies to like handle marketing or handle like putting your music out or publishing and all these things. And it's like, I get it. I get that the independence is cool, and that if you're making $1 million, then you're sharing less with than with 1 million other people. But it's really hard to ask one artist who's trying to focus on just creativity to do all this shit that's like the total opposite of creativity.
Yeah,
that's basically administration. That's
what it is. Yeah, just kind of being the booker, the manager, the art director.
Yeah,
everything. You do. I see what you're getting at. I've kind of lost a little focus on the content, just the music itself. Now, that being said, these songs are kind of just laying there anyway, ready to be put out, most of them. But yeah, I haven't really written anything new since I've started doing this. All my focus has been on new recordings, studio time, what's the artwork going to look like, how am I going to get it out to people, what's the next strategy. And so it's definitely become more of a business position than an artist's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And that's weird how counter those things are. It's like creativity takes a lot to feed constantly to really keep it sharp and to keep it ready to go to new places.
Right.
And in my experience, all that administrative stuff and that managerial stuff is just, it feeds and sharpens totally a different set of skills
for sure
than what creativity,
for sure,
the skills that you need to write songs and shit like that. It can be a little bit tricky. This guy told me once a long time ago, I doubt he ever sees this. If he did, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing about this. I guess I won't try to, I don't want to like misquote what he broke down, but he had this really interesting metric that argued for the idea that vision in any brand or any company or any team or even within an individual, that vision deserves more of your attention than anything else. Like execution and strategizing are kind of, they need to take up less of your time than like really exploring your vision does. And I think that is, that's kind of like the opposite of what we're seeing at large when we're putting artists in these positions where they have to do all this other stuff. That stuff doesn't come naturally to everyone. It's a whole world of navigation to try to figure out how to execute a strategy effectively for like making your stuff visible to people.
Yeah.
And it does kind of take away sometimes from the ability to really focus on that which matters, which is your vision for the art that you're trying to make.
Right. Yeah. If there was some sort of like, if you were in a position where there was some sort of stabilizing income in the midst of all of it, it wouldn't be so bad. It actually might be a little fun, but knowing that you have a full-time job and you want to treat your art as your other full-time job, but then you realize that the administrative part of that, of getting your art out there, is also a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, you don't really have time for much. So you kind of put the creativity aside. You do lose the vision a little bit. I noticed that with the single that I'm working on. I have a great producer, but the vision gets lost in just the pursuit of getting that fresh new song out there. You know what I mean? I want it to sound great and clean and whatnot. But in the pursuit of doing that, the art kind of starts to decay a little bit, just because I'm not as hands-on with that. I'm not as much of a part of that creative process as I think I'd like to be. And I think that ties into what you're saying.
Yeah. So I was looking through some of your social media earlier, and you have it looks like this a piece that goes with the video or something. Like there's this face painted thing that you're in. I was really curious about that. Like, what is the story behind that?
So it comes from the song Dear Brother. So essentially what it is my face painted as a Grim Reaper. Because in that particular song, there's just kind of this narrative, and that song was co-written with a buddy of mine that used to work on the on this project with me. We used to write songs together. It's more of a duo. It's called Paradise Falls. That's why I named the EP Paradise Falls, just in memory of that. So the only part I even wrote in that song is the Reaper part. But so there's this moment where the Reaper speaks to the main character of the story, and voice gets all gravelly and whatnot. And I thought it would be cool to actually have him talking to that Reaper. And it hasn't come into fruition yet, but it'll be a reoccurring character. Like for our next video, just spoiler alert, Reaper's coming back. Because the next song is more based on vices. It's just about vices. And it was an idea I had is an old song that, you'll get into heaven as long as you're not having any fun, is essentially the idea of the song. So the Reaper's throughout that video, and I kind of wanted to keep him around because later on there's my next record I was telling you earlier that I'm working on deals very heavily with death. I've lost a lot of friends and those friends became muses and became subjects, and fueled the art. They helped me write the song. Essentially, they are also everyone else's. And the Reaper shows up lyrically later on in that too. So I guess I'm just kind of building a little bit of a universe. If you notice, well, you can't notice. Well, maybe you could. There's that video Wildfire I have where there's a pickup truck in it. That pickup truck is also the truck we use in Dear Brother, and the pickup truck will also be in the next video. So I don't know. I'm just kind of having fun with cinematography, trying to build this universe. I don't know. I'm just nerding out about it.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah. Trying to make every aspect of what we do as fun as I can.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the idea of like when people can manage to kind of, I guess, who came to mind first was, I actually don't remember how to pronounce their name, but that Die Antwood. That's them. Die Antwood. Like, their videos kind of have this sort of thread that connects them in a lot of ways. I guess not every single video, but especially like when they first broke through, just all this like South African stuff and sort of putting themselves against American culture and stuff.
Yeah.
I love it when people can almost kind of work filmmaking, or they can take their visual presentation of their music to that level where it's like consistent with everything else.
It's something that once we kicked off that first video, it's a very simple video, Wildfire. We just burned a couch, but once we did that, I had so much fun with it that I was like, I kind of want to make this a thing. Can this be part of my art too? So I'd like to keep not just me, but the band. If we can keep some sort of control over what happens visually, that would make me very happy.
Yeah.
Everything that we could control, the more we could control, the better I feel about it. Those videos were done by a buddy of mine, Derek, who does awesome wedding videos if you're ever getting married. But he kind of did it as a favor for me. We just kind of traded art. I would draw him pictures. He would make me videos. And it looks like we've run to the... So anyway, I had a lot of creative control. I kind of wrote the videos, but it looks like the art time creatively is coming to an end. So we're currently trying to think of ways to kind of do our own videos at this point, and start getting into video editing. My drummer's a photographer, a really great photographer, and he says he's got a little bit of a handle on video editing. So hopefully moving forward, we can kind of put a little more focus into that and have a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because right now I'm just having a blast with with everything, other than the promotional stuff.
Yeah, well, all the creative stuff you enjoy.
All the creative stuff is great.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
All right. Which, by the way, I noticed you got Wildfire on your hands there. Is did that come about after the song or before?
Yeah. So Wildfire is a song about my current girlfriend. And it's a song about me giving up on her. We have a pretty complicated beginning. So it was just tough getting there, you know. So I wrote a song to kind of, that's just what I do when I'm sad. Just write it out, you know.
Yeah.
You could probably relate.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
So I was giving up on her in that song. But it never stopped. You know, we never stopped, and now we're very happy together. We share a home together, and so that being said, there is a Wildfire 2 to kind of reconcile Wildfire 1. But those two songs will both be on the full length that I've kind of alluded to.
So what about this Grim Reaper character? I'm sorry, I'm so curious
Bring
about
it on,
this.
man.
I don't want to.
I love talking about this.
Beat a dead spirit of death. But I notice that my own artistic whatever problems that turn into productivity tend to have some relationship with some obsession with like mortality or something. And it's just glaring at me that there's like this figure of death that's a part of an ongoing theme in your songs, or at least your visual sort of presentations. Like, what's that all about?
I'm just surrounded by it. Sometimes is how it feels, you know. I think the best way to talk about it is kind of talk about the record that I'm wanting to get out there, which won't be for a while, but most of the songs are written, and we are playing most of them live, so they'll be in circulation and whatnot, just not on record. But like the album itself is about my really shitty 2019, which started out very much about me, in that you know, my friends were finding relationship. I had a very close group of friends who did everything together, a lot of stupid stuff together. They were moving on with their lives. I ended up being single in the home alone, and overeating, over drugging, and over drinking, and really in denial. It was weird too, because I love my brother to death, but I don't look at him much of it as an intellect. And there was one night in particular, he was telling me how unhappy I was. And I'm like, I have a smile on my face. I'm like, I'm not unhappy, man. I'm fine. I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. But if I fast forward a couple months, he was absolutely right. Like, I was freaking out and I didn't even know it. And I see it in my face and old pictures and everything. Anyway, that year started out with me wanting to die. Like, I just didn't want to try anymore. Nothing felt good. Everything felt like a waste of time. And shortly after that, I mean, it felt like a really long span of time. I don't know how long it was that I felt that way. So anyway, the first track of the album is called Distance, and that song's about where I was then, just wanting to quit. But then we lost a very, very good friend, brother is what we call him, in February of 2019. Drug related. We don't know all the details, but drug related. And then everybody else was sad. You know, it was this really strange feeling where everything at the beginning, everything was about me and woe is me, and I don't know what to do anymore. And then just like that, we lose somebody super important to all of us, and now everybody's here with me. You know, now everybody else is down in the gutter with me. And at that point, it's like, now I have more of a purpose. You know, now I can be a little more supportive. I can be with everybody and be that shoulder to cry on and whatnot. And his death definitely changed my perspective because I saw how much it hurt everybody else, how impactful it was, and I just didn't. I haven't thought about it since. You know, I haven't been in that space ever since. Now life has exponentially gotten better for me since then, anyway. But just from that moment on, just I was cured of that, as far as I'm concerned. At least for now. We don't know, but so he passed, and then a month later. So I was doing open mics around that time. Every week, and it was just me because nobody wanted to get on the stage. I was even lending out my guitar just to have somebody on there. Come on, do stand up. You got interpretive dance. Come on and do it. Just whatever. And I was essentially getting paid in drinks. So every Tuesday night, I was just drunk, hammering on a guitar for 3 hours or whatever, and was not in a good place. Anyway, the guy that was working with me was a drummer, is a roommate of mine who dealt with his own issues. He passed, took his own life, a month after my other buddy, and right back where we were. Everybody, everybody's back in the gutter again. So yeah, I mean, and that's just on that record. All these deaths were typically very drug related. There's the name of the record is No Better, No Worse, and it's there's a song, it's a title track, and that song to me is the most important song on there, and that's why it's the title of the record, where I'm basically addressing how we've all been there. We've all been in the shit, and somehow with each passing brother, each passing friend, somehow we're not getting any better. We're not learning our lessons at it. And it just keeps happening, because while I am specifically talking about these two deaths in this record, there are plenty more right before that, the years before that. And who could have lived by that example or whatever. And I know that's a simplistic way of thinking, but I can't help but think that way myself. That's kind of what took me out of it, is seeing how someone that meant so much to us passing away could change my perspective in such a heavy way. So death just kind of stays around. There's a line in that song where I say, me and my brother were fighting because of issues that rolled out with the death of our buddy. And but the line is my favorite line, probably my favorite line I've ever written, which was the Reaper drove us apart, but we were willing passengers. And to me, that just kind of sums it up. Is, it sucks. There's some things you can't control, but your perspective is one that you can. And
yeah. Man, first of all, I'm sorry. You said that was 2019, I think. Mm-hmm. Sorry to hear that you and your folk, you and your people experienced so much stuff within that amount of time. Yeah. That's uncomfortable and sad and just tragic, and I'm sorry to hear that all happened to y'all.
Thank you, brother.
And to those who you were connected to.
Yeah.
And then for that year to get followed up by 2020,
yeah.
that's just like two big curveballs that are tough to hit. And then I guess what stands out to me the most, that I think I can understand as an artist, is like it seems like you've reached into some pretty deep, dark places and are trying to, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but my impression of it is like you're turning it into something. You're like
yes.
taking these experiences and giving it a new life that's more positive.
It's exactly what I'm doing. My buddy that stays with me, I was picking on him the other day, and I was like, my friends fucking suck, man. Y'all suck. And he's like, if it weren't for us, you wouldn't even have these songs. And I was like, no, you're right. He's like, you're exploiting us. But no, that's at least for this I mean, yeah, that's just my whole process anyway. My girl had asked me for the record, they're all really sad songs, and she had asked, she's like, can you not write a happy song? And I've told her that I've tried. And I don't know, happiness, I don't know. I did. I ended up writing one, but it's still about death, you know, and just kind of taking that perspective, higher ground.
I hear you on that.
Yeah. There's just more whether it's because I'm a visual artist also, and whether it's a drawing, a painting, or a song, it's usually rooted in some sort of, I don't want to get weird about it, but trauma, you know, it's rooted in some sort of experience that I had to overcome, or at the very least take a moment to observe and rationalize.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. I've tried to have this conversation with a lot of people. I too, believe it or not, have been accused of not doing a lot of happy music. And
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, happy music. It's like who? Like Jason Mraz? Like fucking Justin Timberlake? Like who are we talking about?
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell's great. And I have all sorts of theories about that, about like why these categories of music are so different. I mean, when you hear Bruno Mars or something try to do like a really sincere song that's deeper than our surface level of sort of joy.
Yeah.
It doesn't land quite the same to me. And when if I could even imagine hearing somebody iconic like Steve Earle doing a cover of Happy by Pharrell, that would just be hilarious to try to think about. They're different categories, and for me, we could probably play ping pong for quite a while about how we understand those differences. But I think a lot of what you're talking about is what it gets boiled down to, is like it's not only creativity, it's not only self-expression and like articulating your reality as a person, but there is almost a therapeutic aspect to it where you're learning. It's like I'm talking about for me, not putting this on you, but for me, it's often just like taking things that feel complex and sorting them out through something creative, and then making something that I can like accept, you know, making something that I can say, okay, I kind of conquered what my thoughts were around this thing,
right,
or something.
Absolutely. I can't do anything but agree with that.
Yeah. Is it therapy? Is it?
Yeah.
Is that what you think of it?
Absolutely. There was a time. So my the guitar I was telling you about before that I bought from a buddy, it's gone. I don't know what happened to it. I don't want to play any blame games, but it had gotten taken from me at some point. I don't know, back in 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. And I wasn't playing a lot at the time. As a matter of fact, I have no idea how long it was gone before I noticed, you know. I remember my mom, like that following year, had asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And I don't ever know how to answer that question. I'm working. Whatever I want, I'll get, you know. That's how I feel about the holidays. But I told her, I was like, well, I could say I've been pretty sad, and I've been pretty down, feeling pretty alone, unfulfilled. I haven't played guitar in a long time. So, I mean, a guitar would be cool if you could find an old cheap guitar or something, like just for something that sits in the corner and I could pick it up and play it whenever I want. She went all out. Like, I got a really nice guitar, but yeah, I think to call it therapy, even though some people might say a little cliche, it's accurate. It's super accurate. There are just things that, for me, and it sounds like for you, that need to be hammered out.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, and that's the best way I know to do it. You can call it a coping mechanism, I guess. But yeah, just conquering it, understanding whatever's bothering you, whatever's weighing heavy on you at the time, and it's a way of addressing it, I'd say, and being able to move on after that.
Yeah. What do you think is the, because not only do we write these things for ourselves, but we also like make them public. And what do you think that part's about?
I mean, validation, right? I was just talking about this because we have this song that we're, and this isn't the only song that's like this, but we have a song that we just went to the studio to record as a collective. So we have a single coming out soon, and it's called Stranger. And that song was not, it was a song that I chose not to put on the EP. Like I had it laying around. I had a couple of them that I just chose not to put on the record. And I played what I had at band practice or whatever, and my bassist really liked it. And he's like, "Let's put that in there, dude. Let's put that in the set." And I was like, "I mean, we could do it for filler, I guess. Like just more time on the set, fine." And he's like, then it turned into, "Hey man, let's record that song. Let's make a music video for that song." And I was like, I don't really want to. And then and my girl really liked it, and basically enough people around me really liked the song that I was like, well, I mean, at this point it'd be silly not to, you know?
Yeah.
And I've actually become quite the fan of the song too. Just playing the song is really fun now. It's got a harder edge to it now, and it's just more fun. But what I was getting at was that I wrote that song specifically to be more accessible. So I told you that we changed the name to Fox Season, which is the title of an old song that I wrote way back. Mm-hmm. And I told you I was heavily influenced by Conor Oberst, Bright Eyes. So I've always been really into just real metaphorical writing and wordplay and just being clever. So much so that I had to break down the lyrics to Fox Season for me to even remember what it was about. Like I knew all the lyrics, but there were so many metaphors and like just arbitrary comparisons and imagery that I had no idea where my headspace was when I wrote that. So, in contrast, Fox Season is one that I went into it with the mindset of being a little more accessible from a listener's perspective. So the it's not so wordy. I'm giving you a very simple narrative, something that you can relate with. Now at the end, it gets a little, artsy, I guess you could say. But yeah, I did feel compelled to write something a little more easily digested, and from in my opinion, to a listener. I don't know. I was telling you before that I think it's important to have a balance between staying a true artist, whatever that means, but also having kind of that career mindset behind it. Really what it is I know that I take time that I could be spending with my partner away to work on this, and I want it to matter as much as possible. And I don't know if that's monetary or people just really liking it and giving me a big pat on the back, but whatever it is, that's part. I'm looking for whatever that is, And I think, for me anyway, that's what kind of compels me to want more people to listen. And maybe if you like that, you'll get into some of the other stuff that I have a little more fun with creatively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Sometimes with subjects, I just kind of trace it back in a way that's like, what would this look like if it was 200,000 years ago or something? When when our species was more in its infancy and stuff. And I don't think it's that crazy if you could imagine yourself in a society like that, where maybe everything wasn't a commodity and everything wasn't under a system of organization that, and I'm not somebody who's like anti-systems of organization or money or anything else, but I'm just saying, like, we, especially in America, like kind of it's a type of system where almost anything can be a commodity and where we can kind of pursue all sorts of things.
Right.
If you can remove modernity from the equation and imagine it in a more old-fashioned sense, you're just a person in a tribe who wants to be known for being good at music.
Yeah.
You know, like you have something to contribute to a tribe of people.
Right.
It's for some people that's like dance, for some people that's preaching mystical words, and for some people that's fishing. And you just happen to be somebody who is good at music and wants to contribute that.
Right. And well, in a way, even if you do take out the monetary aspect of it, you're searching for value.
Yeah.
Right.
A sustainable life. I mean, yeah, man, it's tough because you know, you've been watching this show. Like, I've had a lot of conversations with people recently that are just sort of like, it's damn near impossible to have a career in this field.
No.
Maybe now more than it ever has been since the concept of a career in this field has come to existence.
Yeah.
You know, it's as hard as it can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, for I think a lot of us, it's not about like dreaming of an easy life or whatever. I think it's just trying to focus on maximizing the quality of what we feel like we're most passionately trying to contribute to, you know, the world at large.
Right. If you could sustain yourself through your creativity, you kind of kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that whole adage that if you do what you love, you never have to work a day in your life kind of thing. It's very enticing.
Yeah.
You know, you really want to do that. If I can do that, if it's possible for me to do that, then I have to try. That's kind of where my head is now. And again, I always get stuck between arts too, right? Like, I want to spend time on the music, but I want to spend time on the visual arts and building a portfolio and working on more paintings and whatnot. So that's why I'm trying to kind of bring the two worlds together too, to make that a little easier. Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Well, you get mixed. You find yourself between arts and.
Yeah, wearing too many hats.
Well, let me ask you this: you had said that you've been doing these video things. You are aesthetically, you're individual art as well as musical art, and you're just now starting to get to the point where you're like thinking about adding the live show component, not like for the first time in your life, but just with this band, you're starting to think about booking,
putting the focus on it.
Yeah. What do you think about this whole option that there exists to be like a digital artist? Like, do you find it appealing to, if you said maybe my career could just be like trying to make videos and recordings rather than the performance thing versus having the performance thing, do you definitely want that to be a part of it too?
Yeah. Well, when it was just me, when it was just the solo project, I didn't actually care that much as far as like the live performances went. I didn't know how grandiose it could be. I didn't want to be a solo act with a guitar on a stage. That's just not what I wanted to keep doing.
Yeah.
You know, full band atmosphere, if I'm going to do it, is kind of what makes me happy. So I had these songs, I had material, so I wanted to put it out. And in my head, if I could just be a digital artist, sure, no problem. I don't have a problem with that. It almost feels like that gives me time to work on the other things, you know, the other endeavors I have or whatever. But now that it is a band, it's super important to me to play live. Like we've had one show so far, and man, just the connections I made with people just with that one show, the feeling that I got from that one show, the mistakes that we made were so overshadowed by just the feeling of performing and having people listening to you. Some of them actually singing your lyrics with you. Like, there was something really, really great about that. It just felt super warm, and just loved that. And I want to do more of that. So at this point, no, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not, that doesn't sound like something I would want to do exclusively as far as being a digital artist. Like I said, I'm having a lot of fun with the videos and some of the visual stuff that I'm working on to support the band. But no, just live shows are important to me.
Yeah,
for sure.
I got
to get out there. Yeah.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back on the road right now, and it's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
It's
Nobody's looking, or?
I don't know. The other people that I've talked to act like it's also hard for other artists, that it's not just me. I feel like, I guess I have a different kind of feedback, because some venues have come back to me and said, you haven't been on the road for like 4 years or something, so that isn't good for you or whatever.
As far as the draw.
Yeah, and they are right about that.
Right.
There's like, I can't pull that many people in a lot of cities throughout the East Coast right now, you know, because I was gone for a long time. Other artists still, though, who tour more full time are like still struggling to get shows. It's in all sorts of different it's because of all sorts of different kinds of problems.
You think it'd be booming now?
You would hope, but I think some people respond pretty negatively to the vaccine requirement thing.
Yeah.
Some people who are vaccinated still just don't want to go to shows. Some people still get COVID, whether it's a headliner or an opener or a staff member, who knows what. So then shows can get canceled for that.
Yeah.
And with people with attendance already suffering because of whole COVID questions, it's a little tough when you're used to pulling like maybe 150 people in a city, and now you might be selling 40 tickets or something. It's just sort of like it really fucks with everybody's travel expenses.
Right.
I think is kind of the idea.
Right. I've got a lot of difficulties booking stuff. I'm brand new at it anyway. I've reached out to 2 different bands that I've worked with, just to get some pointers on it. But what I'm seeing is, man, people want those 3-hour sets.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do that. We don't mess with any covers. Not that we won't, but we haven't.
Yeah.
So I know we got to kind of focus on that. It's never really been my thing. I don't care to do it, to be honest with you. But I understand the value behind a nice chunk of covers. But that's what I'm running into is wanting a certain amount of time. And people, I had a show recently tell me that it's not that they're against it, but that my music isn't what they usually, like they go with for like heavier bands and stuff like that. And I thought that was a little disheartening, just because I don't know. I'm not a promoter or anything, but I've always thought variety is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, again, like I said, just another full-time job, not necessarily the booking, but learning about the booking is what's kind of fucking with me now.
Yeah, man. The whole 3-hour gig thing, that's kind of like, it seems to me anyway, it's like the step after that starts to be rooms where you can do a set like what you would normally do, like if we're talking about a concert versus a show or whatever, like a 45 to an hour set. Those come with ticket sales, and these 3-hour sets or whatever, they come with bars that have, like, you're not selling tickets or whatever.
Right.
So you're
just providing a service while people are there.
Yeah, people who would likely be there, and you hopefully are helping to bring more people in. I've decided, and that's also working against me pretty heavily, because I'm not doing bar sets. Period. I'm not doing 3-hour shows. Yeah. I'm not playing for people who experience music passively, and that's just kind of a standard I've set for myself.
Yeah.
And that means I get way fewer responses, because I'm pretty much targeting listening rooms, festivals, and more like concert spaces, and looking to be an opener on bills and stuff. But having been off the road for so long, I just don't have a lot of purchase to my demands of what I want out of the experience. Well, that goes back
to us wanting people to listen, right?
Yeah.
You got to have that following, got to have the draw, or you don't get what you want. Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough, man. So I'm glad that you're doing it, because I do think that is a super important part of the whole landscape right now. I mean, I think what you're doing visually is really fun, and I think anything that you're recording is super important. Like, that's very concrete. But I think those who are most enthusiastic supporters of music, they really do still care about seeing it live one way or another.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed by the turnout we got for that show we had. I was telling you earlier that it sucks to see it sucks to make note of all the people not supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When you see the people not supporting you, it's real disheartening. It's real discouraging. But that night that I played that show, I got to see the face of every single person that does support me.
Yeah.
That did want to come see me live, and not just. It's like knowing that it wasn't a favor too.
Yeah.
Like just knowing the difference.
For sure.
And you just know, like, people actually wanted to be there. I had an old buddy of mine drive from the beach just to be there. My cousin, I mean, it's my cousin, but drove from Virginia to be there. So just at a bar. So that was super encouraging.
Yeah, somebody that came over here recently was talking about how in Winston it feels a bit like the best expectations you can have sometime for a show are that your friends will come and just be like, I'm glad you're playing a show, but it doesn't feel like there's this hunger all the time for new music or to see what the bands are doing.
I know. And I can't stop comparing it to, I grew up in Kernersville for the most part. That's when I musically grew up in Kernersville, you know, as a fan. And man, the hardcore scene was so big and beautiful and loud back then. And I don't know, like you would expect those kids to grow up and just, or at least a good majority of them continue on, and for that thing to only get bigger. And it doesn't. Mm-hmm. It didn't get any bigger. It only got smaller. That scene, and just from my perspective, the music scene in general, just nobody. It's not nobody. I mean, there's still fans out there, but it's not. It's very rare that you ask somebody what they're doing this weekend and they say, we're going to a show. And it's even rarer that they're going to a local show. Yeah. You know, to see local acts.
There is a common phrase among a lot of my musician friends that we all just haphazardly say to each other, man, nobody gives a shit. Yeah. And I really desperately don't want that to be true, but it feels like that is, I don't want to even say that and like, it sound like I'm bitching about it, you know, but it just feels like people don't give a shit right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's correct.
I try to trace it back all sorts of different ways. You know, I've talked to people blaming it on Spotify, blaming it on social media, blaming it on just the internet in general and all sorts of things. But I think too, sometimes, gotta give credit, I guess, to the fact that there's been such an explosion of technology that allows music to be more accessible to more people. Mm-hmm. I guess sometimes maybe it's like people don't give a shit. I wonder sometimes if maybe people give a little bit less of a shit because like it's easier to do it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's such a surge of music.
That's true. I made a TikTok, man. I did it.
Oh yeah?
I made a TikTok.
Are you good at it?
No, I have 5 followers. I had like 500 views or something on just a little clip of the Dear Brother music video, the Reaper part. I thought that was the most fun part. So
I saw that on your Instagram now that you mention it.
Yeah, and so it's got views, but no, not a whole lot of followers. I just thought if there was any excuse to make a TikTok, it's to promote my band. So yeah, people keep telling me, they're like, "Are you on TikTok?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want a TikTok, man." And they're like, "Well, you got to have a TikTok if you want this to go anywhere. You got to have a TikTok." And so I made one.
I wonder if it's true, man. It's like people, Facebook and shit is so boring. I mean, YouTube is a big motherfucker, but and Instagram is still like people check into it all the time. But is that really where everybody is? Like, do you know people who just fucking use TikTok?
I feel like most of the people I know that use TikTok are boomers.
Really?
Honestly, not boomers. Gen X's. Oh. Like my mom's age. Yeah. Not that my mom does, but my girlfriend's mom does. You know, people in like their 40s, 50s. I've noticed. Those are the people I know that use TikTok. You know what I'm saying? but I don't hang out with a lot of young gohards either. So.
Yeah. I know like 2 people that have TikToks, I guess, and you're one of them.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I mean, there's something to it though, because I know, I listen to a lot of music reviewers and stuff like that, and they talk about it all the time. Like, you got to do it. If you're not doing it, you're missing out. And I'm like, well, I don't want to miss out. So, I mean, there's definitely a use for it. Like that single that I was talking about, the band was talking about maybe doing a music video for that. And I was like, I don't think we need a video for it. We can just put out a new single, let's just have music. And we have another video that's not out yet. Let's just do these 2 separate things. But once I made the TikTok, I'm like, well, here's an opportunity where we could make a 30-second little video, just film like 30 seconds of little spooky clips or whatever that we think might fit with this song, a section of this song. And there you go. Like, you've utilized what TikTok's best at, which is small little bites of music or entertainment, right? And you got your music video. Mm-hmm. So it's just another little tidbit to put out there, right? So that sounds fun to me. And, I hope that a strategy like that is fruitful.
Yeah.
But even if it's not, I mean, it still seems fun to do.
That's the thing about TikTok is like, it seems like there are some people that definitely use it purely as like a marketing strategy. But
yeah.
The vibe I'm getting from people, just from my little bit that I see of it, that floats around in other realms of social media, it seems like very informal, and like people's weird sides come out, and it isn't that serious. It isn't like, I guess for somebody who's like at the top of the game that makes money from it, maybe it's very serious. But I think for a lot of people, it's just a social media that it doesn't make you seem perfect. It makes you seem absurd and weird, and that makes it okay in this different way because nobody takes it that seriously or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that I can't sit on the feed for too long, like, because I'll catch myself just scrolling through.
I've heard
TikToks
that
now that I have it, and it's just like a lot of seemingly single moms just, looking for attention.
Being single moms.
Being single moms, yeah.
God love them.
Yeah. That's what it looks like to me. And other than that, that's all that I really ever see. And people lip syncing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I can get people lip syncing my songs, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd probably help you out a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Might make you famous. I don't know.
Fame by TikTok, man.
TikTok famous.
Oh, yeah.
Versus real life hot. To quote J. Cole. Anyway.
My girl got it.
She's
J. Cole fan.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna. Maybe I'll try to get J. Cole on here sometime.
Oh, that'd be cool,
He's
man.
a North Carolina guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is his thing. Anyway. Yeah, you're a religious guy.
No, I used to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not currently.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I never know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always wondering.
Yeah.
That first group of songs that I wrote way back in the day was supposed to be part of a collective called God, Girls, and Growing Up. Because that's what all the songs were about. So I often question.
What kind of religious were you?
I was, I don't know, Christian, Westland. What that was, though, it was more of a social outlet for me, I think. I was a pretty introverted person. I still kind of am. It takes me a minute to warm up to people. And once I do, I'm very, and I'm comfortable in my surroundings. I'm very outspoken. But at first, I kind of I got to warm up. Mm-hmm. But before church, I was not that guy. I was just very kept to myself. I didn't want anybody giving me any shit. It's basically what it was. Just leave me alone. And we lived next to a church, and I would go to youth group every Wednesday and found my voice, I guess you could say, or came out of my shell is a better way to put it. felt accepted, felt comfortable, felt like a real community. I think church is important in that way. Like it can do a lot of good in that area.
Yeah.
I was at church every day, helping set up the stage for like the youth band and talking to my youth pastor all the time. I didn't really have a dad growing up, so it was cool to have like a older male in my life that I could kind of bounce ideas off of and whatever's going on in my life and stuff. So I was I thought I was very deep into religion at the time, but if I'm being honest, you know, there was every Sunday morning people were talking about how God talked to them, and you know, I never got that, and it always felt like theater to me, just because, and I'm not saying those people were lying, but from my perspective, it was something I was asking for, you know, and I never got it. And so faith wore down over time. And I remember, so what happened with me is I just started questioning the practicality of what I was being taught. Right. And, my youth pastor, who I respected very much, had said one day in his service, you don't have to understand God, you have to follow God. And that was the moment that I decided this isn't for me, not right now. I'm going to have to think on that for 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I've essentially left it. I have some religious friends that I like to talk to, namely my friend Andrew, who's in the Wildfire video playing guitar with me. He's a very religious guy, very respectable guy. If I have any question about the Bible, he's got the answer. So I stay curious and everything. I don't know. I feel like if I'm gonna, I don't know. I've always felt like if I'm gonna do it, I gotta go all the way with it, and that might be a mistake, an error in thinking. I don't know. I just haven't found my spot in the community, I guess you could say.
Well, don't worry. I'm not the guy that's going to lead you there. One thing I really love about this podcast is getting the chance to learn how much in common I have with other people.
Yeah.
Growing up, I never knew that, like, and for the longest time when I stopped being religious, I just like didn't know that was a thing people could even do.
Right. Yeah.
Things that I felt like I would be in church and definitely be trying my hardest to figure out, why am I not having this like crazy religious experience that other people have? Like, why? And I'm like really treating God like a person that I could interact with and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like really trying to figure this out.
Right.
And it was just inaccessible. And, you know, I probably by the time I was 19, I had a personality that didn't go that well with it anyway. Mm-hmm. At least I didn't function within it the same way that a lot of people that I observed functioning within it. Right. Like, we tell you this, and so that's what you believe. And I'm just like, well, that doesn't work for me one bit. So anyway, just like knowing, I didn't know that other people had experiences like this for like the longest time until I got a bit older and started actually talking to other people who either weren't religious or never had been religious or had all these criticisms about it and stuff.
It seems like it's weird because it seems like the majority of the world is like without religion now, but I think a lot on that, and what I keep coming to is no, I think this is the way it always was. You just didn't know it until you became one of those people. Yeah, and
people like you when you started being around people that could actually express it. 'Cause when you're around only religious people and that's your whole world. Yeah. Then as far as you know, the whole world is religious.
Right. Yeah. I find that in just being around just the people that had been around my upbringing, adults is what I'll call them. That I don't, in a lot of cases, I don't truly think that they're religious in the sense that they claim to be. It's just what they know and what they've been taught. It's that same mindset that you had before, or that I had, where you just, you're told this is the way it is, and there's no other answer, and you don't have to think about this. This is already figured out for you. Live accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's where most people are without realizing it. Or I won't say most, but a good amount of people, at least that I've encountered.
Maybe. I think given how many people are I think artists tend to. Well, let me think about this for a second.
Better be careful.
Yeah.
On record.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be. Anyway, artists are not. They're certainly not above being given to a predetermined identity.
Right.
Lots of artists get sucked in by identities that exist. Even the identity of an artist kind of is a pre-existing identity. Now, some people can't escape it. They're stuck within creativity. They're stuck within innovation and skill and shit. And so that's just how they function.
Right.
Some people just love the idea of being an artist. And so that's what they cultivate themselves to be. But definitely folks who like don't have that at all, who don't maybe value what it means to maybe formulate. I'll say it this way. I think artistry is a bit connected to being really invested in yourself as an individual. Mm-hmm. It's like, what can I create? What can I express? How can I capture my vision the best and stuff? There are other people who really their comfort level is like, I need a boss. I need like security.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want to overthink everything and like have to like work through thoughts.
Set it and forget it kind of mentality. Yeah.
So if it's just like, okay, that's a model for being a moral person, and if this model will keep me out of trouble and keep me out of like fucking up my life, I'll just do that. I'll vote this way, and that's the person I'll be. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Artists also do that. I do want to I don't think artists are like holy people.
Right.
I just think art, like the practice of artistry tends to
you tend to fight that monotony a little more as an artist, though. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're a wanderer. You're an existentialist.
Mm-hmm. For better or worse.
That's right.
I'm always curious about people's religious experiences, just because mine were so. They've been departing from religion was a huge thing for me. It shaped me a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hope that was not an unwelcome curiosity.
No. I'm, like I said, I stay curious about it. I'm not decided. I don't know if I ever will be. I just like to. It's one of those things. I'm gonna keep writing songs about it, so that works out.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a fountain that keeps on flowing. So
another question. You mentioned visual art and also like tattooing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess, how long have you been in how long have you been in that world, and what is I keep noticing this blue flower on your arm and stuff, and I'm very curious about your tattoos, and also just what you see yourself doing with visual art.
Yeah, so this tattoo is done by my buddy Weston. He gave it to me for my birthday.
I really like that.
Oh, thank you. This one is from Mitchell Willard. It's an old buddy of mine who works at Legacy Iron. My mom's name is Monica, and my friends always thought it was funny calling her Momica. So I got that. And this is for my buddy who I said passed away in February 2019. And I really like pro wrestling, so there's a Undertaker.
Are you still into pro wrestling?
Yeah, man. I never gave up the dream.
Oh, man.
You're a poser, bro. If you're not now, you never fucking were.
For context, our probably primary way of relating to each other in fourth grade was the WWF.
That's right.
And I was stone cold obsessed, but you got Undertaker on your arm.
Yeah. Well, so the idea for this arm is this is going to be my pro wrestling arm. So I don't want it to be quite as blatant as like wrestler logos, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the plan for this arm is going to be just like a scorpion for Sting. You know, Sting was always my guy.
Yeah.
a rattlesnake for Stone Cold.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Hell yeah.
Have you listened to his podcast?
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I used to listen to it a lot. I haven't listened to a whole lot of it since he's been back with the WWE. But
So this arm, is it going to be like all stuff that we were into when we were in elementary school, like that time period of wrestlers?
pretty much, yeah, I'd say so. No, yeah, I don't. And look, as a wrestling fan, I know it's important to look at newer talent and push on forward. I still enjoy wrestling. There's a lot of new talent that I love. I'm just not. They're not legacy enough for me to put them in my body yet. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they're all from that era. I can't even think of one that would be relatively new.
Dude, I think it's so fun. It's so awesome that you like still care about that.
I trained for 6 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So I'm a dreamer. So when I was a kid, you know, when you're asked what you're going to be when you grow up,
yeah,
what you want, it was always wrestler. That's the first thing I'd ever wanted to be. And I was 27. And I saw some ads for this school in Kernersville. And I just started thinking about being on my deathbed and all the regrets I would have. And I'm like, man, you never tried. You never tried to get in the squared circle and tie it up with the boys. And so I hit up the coach, and I got into the school and tried it out. Realized it's not for me. It's definitely not for me. I'm not a active person, and it's a whole lot of work. That ring does hurt. So, you know, don't try it at home and all that shit. Man,
I could so see you doing that though.
Yeah, I had a character in mind and everything. It's just
who was your character?
Michael Gabriel. I decided the Archangel Michael Gabriel. I do recognize that those are two separate angels, but but it was going to be kind of like a Sting-esque character. Yeah, you know, black and white kind of. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Still though, okay. Now I'm going to ask you something weird that goes with this.
No.
Okay. By the way, I just sold off like a bunch of my wrestling action figures from back then those days. If I had known that I was going to see you,
I started a little collection, but I've since backed down off that now that I'm pursuing things that matter.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm taking this in a super weird direction, but sure. Like I have this idea that I want to see what you think about. I have been like running into a wall with the idea of persona because of things like what the internet has done to the way that real life is perceived. And it goes back and forth. Like Instagram represents perfection. It's like the distillation of all your the best of you that you put on display your for everybody.
I guess your highlight reel.
Yeah. And like, oh, look how happy I am.
Yeah.
And then there's like things like TikTok or YouTube that sometimes are appreciated for their more like, it maybe like, I don't know, depends. Like, and it's not all cut and dry either. It's not like YouTube is the same for every channel or whatever. Like some of them appear perfect. Some of them are really raw and informal. But pretty much ever since like Michael Jackson died, I've believed that we're on this slope downward where like we don't believe in personas anymore.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, like, I've the little bit that I've seen more modern wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like they're a little bit more real people.
Their character is this guy who wrestles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't come out and like, oh, look at Jake the Snake or whatever with the fucking snake on him, or this guy got found in the jungle or something. Yeah. Like they did away with all these fake stories,
right?
Or at least they kind of did away with them. And
there's still some. There's still some, but the majority,
So I wonder what does that bring to mind to you? This idea of like persona and like acting out a fake personhood, or like an idealistic personhood versus real people.
So I'm kind of battling with that right now when it comes to the music. So as a fan of pro wrestling, I love the pageantry. You know, people ask me all the time, like, why don't you just watch MMA, man? And I'm like, because it's too real.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not dramatic enough.
I like
yeah.
the pageantry, man. Like, I like the storylines and just how ridiculous some of this stuff is, you know? And I thought about like rock stars, right? Like, we don't really have rock stars anymore.
Right.
There's this guy I listened to on the internet who had pointed that out too, and he said that the last one that we really had was Fred Durst, in that while he didn't look like what you would consider a rock star, he had this look. People were emulating it. Like, it was a character he was playing, and it made him feel larger than life, or appear larger than life. I think we've hit it a few times since then, just maybe not in the way that we wanted, like with a Post Malone or even a MGK. I think there's value in that. And so I bounce ideas off my girl all the time, and we've thought about a few gimmicks for me, in that to make it a little more interesting, put more. It's like what I was telling you before, just saturating it with art. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The art, being involved in the videos, being involved with the overall look of everything. I'm not, as of yet, not been totally married to it. So I'm just Michael.
Yeah.
But we threw around a few ideas. I think at a certain point it is important, but I think it can also be played with in phases of your project too, right? Like, let's say after this record we do some sort of concept album, in which maybe it would be appropriate to pick up some sort of look, some specific look or whatever to kind of complement that. Either way, I'm not compelled by any one idea so far that I want to go in that direction, but
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of that. Some people may look at it as lame and don't want to fall in line with it, and I think it definitely becomes more difficult when you're in a collective, because you have to get everybody on board in most cases, depending on what we're talking about. But like, for example, I was in a metal band with my buddy who was actually wrote Dear Brother with me. And it was a black metal influenced band, but it was more of a deathcore kind of thing. And he kept wanting to wear corpse paint. And I was like, I don't want to do that. That seems hokey to me. I don't want to do it. And then we had another guitarist, and he's like, so he wants to do corpse paint too. And I was like, well, you guys are going to look awful ridiculous. You guys are going to have corpse paint. The rest of the band are going to look like normal people trying to play music, okay? And so it's definitely important to have everybody on the same page.
Dude, that is a tough one. I've run into that myself too, because there's a question sometimes of like, well, am I, what archetype do I represent? Like, what am I? And I know it's a character sort of thing. Yeah. And I know when I go on stage, I probably step into it a little bit, and I think about like what it all looks like. Yeah. I think it's a good thing, but then I do like something like this where we're being totally natural with each other. Right. No gimmick, no facade. It's just like we're just being normal people. And I sometimes grapple with that. Like, well, to what degree do you protect that? Do you like not allow yourself to be visible ever as not in the character that you represent within like the primary art that you make? Yeah. Or does that even fucking matter? And when I think about like wrestling in particular, it doesn't matter to me. Like for some odd fucking reason, now as an adult looking back on some of that Stone Cold shit that I used to just like, it blew my mind as a kid. It almost matters more now at understanding it as the drama that was unfolding, and like knowing that he was just a normal human being that was committed to that drama, than it did as a kid, like perceiving it as a real drama. You know,
he's interesting because they say in the wrestling business that your best character is who you are turned up to 11. So a good example of that would be Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is a Texan, who does like beer, who does have a smart mouth, but I mean, he's not nearly as erratic as he appears on TV. Another good example would be The Rock. that that's Rocky Johnson, or not Rocky Johnson, Dwayne Johnson. Rocky's his dad.
Yeah.
But turned up to 11. An example of when you were talking about when do you cut it off, how much is too much. I think it depends on the time period, because the two examples that popped into my head were Macho Man Randy Savage and The Undertaker. Now, in Macho Man's case, Macho Man was always Macho Man Randy Savage. I've heard wrestlers in shoot interviews talk about how Macho Man was always in that voice, always in character. You went out to dinner with him, just boys. He's talking to the waiter and just like that, just everywhere. Never turned it off. And then an interesting story an interesting tidbit about The Undertaker. You remember Paul Bearer, the guy with the urn? They would go on the road together, those two. Nobody else rode with them, because this is Paul Bearer and The Undertaker, this dead man, right? Not only that, Undertaker sat in the back, Paul Bearer drove, and Undertaker never pumped the gas. Like, they literally, because if anybody was, because it's what they call a kayfabe. If you're not, are you
what was that phrase?
Kayfabe. So kayfabe is just the, it's keeping the illusion alive, like,
okay,
continuing out that character. So kayfabe now is all but dead, right? Like, we have Instagram, everybody's got their Twitch channel, and you get to,
right.
It's harder. It's really harder to keep that character anyway. It's harder to be an Undertaker, because even the Undertaker now is just Mark Callis.
Yeah.
You still have some, like a Bray Wyatt. He's a kind of a spooky character, and he keeps to himself for the most part, kind of cryptic tweets and stuff like that. So there's still some lore and mystery around him, but for the most part, everybody's exposed. So kayfabe was very important back in the day. Like, that was like a untouchable aspect of the business. You always protected the business. It died a long time ago.
Dude, I just wonder what that means. Like, what, like, is that significant? Like, why did we have that in the first place? Like, why do we need the illusion? And if we don't have it now, if we've produced a world where that illusion is gone, what are we missing? Like,
is it important enough to go back, and how do we do that? It's kind of what
it's kind of what I wonder. Yeah. I mean, is it important enough to go back? Like, is that something that is worth talking about, and sort of like worth I don't know, figuring out ways? I mean, like, did you listen to Father John Misty?
Some, not as much as he's one of those that I've always planned on giving more of a chance, but
his first two albums are untouchable. Yeah. I mean, they're fucking great.
Those are the ones I'll start with.
By the third one, I mean, he became so much of that character that I think it kind of cracked. Yeah. And then by the fourth one, he was something different.
Well, see, that's scary.
Yeah.
Whenever I think about gimmicks, right, in the music and stuff, that's one of the things that keeps me from it. I'm like, if I get this started, am I going to have to do this all the time?
Right.
Is this always going to be who I am?
What was funny about his too was like, well, it seemed to poison him though. I mean, like, I saw him when his second album came out, and in the middle of his set, he cut the house lights on and did the Q&A. Yeah. And he like kind of his whole character almost like made a mockery of the persona of the musician, but also like kind of lamented its death. Like, there's a song that he specifically does that on, I think it was his first album, Only Son of a Ladies Man, where he kind of laments the death of the rock star and the death of the, like what modern society has done to those people or whatever. Yeah. It's really brainy, interesting shit. And his third album, he shattered that like in the middle of a set.
Yeah.
Somebody's like asking him about getting on stage or something, and he says something like, to get on this stage, you have to get in a van with your friends for like 7 years and drive around and all this stuff until you hate each other.
Yeah.
He diminishes the idea that he's actually this persona, but then, like a year later,
puts it right back on.
No, worse. Oh. A year later, he's at a festival. Maybe 2 years later, he's at a festival ranting to the audience about how useless and stupid entertainment is. And then he like plays a song and leaves the stage, and it like upsets a lot of people.
Oh wow.
it seems like he, like, by making fun of it all, by acting out a character that made fun of the whole persona thing, he became this persona of somebody who fucking hates art or something. I wonder what that means. Anyway, whatever. I do wonder what that means. I wonder, like, why we've departed from this, and also, like, why we now have a hard time, like, with the whole idea of persona and what it means to be sort of not your actual self some of the time.
That's really interesting. That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I always looked at it as just a marketing tool, like literally having a TikTok. Like, I was going to wear Western shirts. That was going to be one of my things that I was going to do. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that forever. And I'm kind of trying to get out of that country vibe anyway, like a little taste of it. But that first EP was very southerny, and I don't want to just do that. And so far, that's pretty much all I've put out. And so I was like, I don't want to perpetuate that. I don't want to keep feeding that machine if that's something that I plan on kind of moving away from as time goes on. But I don't know. Like I said, I've always looked at it as just a way to grab people's attention. But I could see that being frustrating to not be able to leave that after a while. I don't even think I'm addressing your question. I get your question, but that's what I'm saying.
There's no answer. It's more like a hypothetical sort of what are we up to kind of thing.
That's super interesting.
I find myself in the same boat. I've considered taking on some alter egos. I've actually been exploring alter egos for a while.
I actually do have one for the hip hop project.
Oh yeah,
so that'll be fun.
That's awesome.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
I am very curious to check that out.
To be announced.
Nice. Yeah, there's no conclusion to reach, I don't suppose. I just think it's really interesting to explore this idea of persona and alter ego versus what people, I think, consider authenticity. I mean, why isn't dressing up like an Undertaker and going and throwing dudes around, why isn't that authentic? It kind of is, you know? But I feel like the culture has shifted away from that toward this concept of something more literal, and I don't know why.
Yeah, like why take away the pageantry? Like what was so important about removing that from entertainment? Is that what you're kind of?
Yeah, I wonder about it.
Yeah,
I guess,
like I said, some would argue that it is important to maintain that.
Yeah,
wrestling purists would old heads would tell you that it's important to maintain kayfabe.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
I think part of it for me boils back down to, like, what does it mean about music? And I think with all this being expressed, I think it's really interesting to notice that I think our rock stars right now in the country and in popular culture are comedians, because they are sort of the ones that are rebellious and the ones that maintain artistic freedom, and they just say, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
This is what I do.
I don't think other art forms are doing that right now.
Not at all. Yeah.
So, and what's also interesting about them is, while they have stage personas, their whole art form is being, like, as honest and real as they possibly can be.
Right.
And musicians don't do that.
Well, I mean, and even
musicians do that sometimes.
Counterculture is important in that art form too.
Yeah, yeah.
Which used to be important in rock and roll.
Right, exactly.
It's not so much anymore. Yeah.
I wonder if that is relevant to the whole picture of, like, I guess sometimes I think, okay, it's not all of us that are making music that people don't love. It's like people don't love music right now. Yeah. And I think it's because music, in relation to just everything that we're thinking, is not what has the power right now in terms of being counterculture, in terms of, like, being bringing about change in people's minds. I think that's comedy right now.
Right. Well, I think that I mean, I would agree, but I think that would actually lend itself to the argument of bringing back that pageantry, bringing back those characters when it comes to music, because a music gatekeeper might tell you that you're a musician. It's about the music. What are you doing? Why is this important?
Yeah. But
we're just now sitting here talking about, you know, you've been off the road for 4 years, and there are venues that don't have a whole lot of faith in your draw.
Yeah.
Because of that, right? So there is a level of importance of how much attention your art gets. And if you believe in your music, but it's still not knocking down any doors, then maybe you should try something else. Maybe you should put a little more effort in creativity or social media or whatever, because it's clearly, I don't think anybody's going to want to keep, there's not many people that want to put their heart and soul into something, an art form, and just do it for that art's sake. It doesn't really, I don't know anybody like that anyway. Most people want either notoriety or capital, right? So yeah, I think it's important to think about characters, alter egos, or just other vehicles to spark interest.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about people don't care about music. I think there's something to that, and I think that pageantry is something that's been missing for a while. So
we should explore that some more as we move forward in our musical endeavors.
Yeah.
We should touch base about that again.
We have a few zany ideas. Zany, God, I'm a boomer. Zany ideas. As far as promos and stuff like that go, we just haven't done any of it yet. Everything costs money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I want to, like I said, I want to stay hands-on with like the music videos and any of the promotional art that goes out.
Yeah.
I want it to be, photographs from my drummer, drawings from me, ideas and creative ideas from the bassist or whoever else is involved. It's important to me for it to be as saturated with our own likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
Or likes anyway.
Yeah.
If there's going to be anything put out, it needs to come from us. So.
Well, dude, I'm excited to not only reconnect with you after
Absolutely.
a long time, but I'm excited to see what you do next and see, like, keep up with your art and stuff. So I hope other people will too. And yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing. I think you're like on the right track. So
absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
Keep on going. Would you mind re-signing my yearbook?
Not at all. Michael actually brought over his yearbook from like 1999?
98, 99.
98, yeah. Totally. Well, I probably could find mine if you wanted to sign mine.
Yeah, man. I thought that'd be cool.
Yeah. Let's really do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming over. And
absolutely.
let's keep in touch and let's do it again sometime.
Yes, sir.